Um,
What is up, people of the internet? Cosmic Adults here, and yeah, we're dropping in again. We're going to look at the energies of the week ahead, and we're going to talk about some other things, big things, deeper things,
which is like basically our favorite thing to do.
which
Like,
is
what do other people do?
I I think it's still pretty much the same. Very much of our society is geared, even maybe more so now, is geared towards more entertainment,
Hmm.
more pleasure and more entertainment. But one of the things people don't understand is a lot of pleasure just on top of pleasure doesn't really make you happy or doesn't make us go anywhere. I think that needs to really shift. That understanding needs to
Yeah.
really shift.
I tend to agree with that.
It's a big misconception in my book. You know, most people think it will. You know, more just more. I will go
I
to
mean, more is better.
yeah,
Not.
one of these days.
Can I ask a question
Hmm.
of you? I am curious how it is that you came to be an astrologer because like we were talking about how, you were hiding yourself and all this. Like how did you what's your origin story? What's your like what brought you here? How would you
So that is maybe those are two questions, but let's start with the astrologer question.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Um, the astrologer question is quite simple but hard. It was so I was in a
That's what she said.
uh,
Sorry.
that is
Fuck.
what she
It
said.
just came out. I couldn't stop it. Sorry.
That's good. We have that going with my fiance as well. That's pretty funny. It's the
Oh,
funniest
it's so
joke.
fun. It's one of the funniest. Okay.
Um,
So,
but anyway, I was in a previous relationship. I think it was the one before that, but it was years and years ago now. It was like around 2013, 2014, so around, what is it, like 9 years ago? And maybe eight, 9, 8, something like that.
mhm.
I was already a little bit interested in astrology, but I wasn't really, do something kind of like in the back burner I knew about, I wasn't too much into it, you know. And
Mhm.
but the strange thing started happening with me and that person I was in a relationship. I noticed a pattern of us arguing, then a little break, again arguing, a big fight, again everything was fine, arguing, you know, again. So it was like, what the hell is like going on? And by then I was already kind of like in spirituality or whatever, and I was like, you know, I guess I wasn't so deeply into prayer like I'm now, but I was like still like, you know, what the hell is going on? I was going, was asking those big questions in my mind. I was like, why is this so, and what is happening here?
Mhm.
And basically, what happened was like I stumbled upon a YouTube video by one of my main teachers, Lara Duncheva, and I recommend everybody listening to this go and check out her channel, although it was hacked, and
Oh
now
yeah.
now it
She
is
has a whole new one,
relaunching.
right?
It's just
And
relaunching again.
we were talking about cyber stuff, cyber attacks and hacks and all that. So, oh
Hmm.
my God,
That will
that's
happen
freaking
more.
crazy. Wow.
And
Anyways, so you were watching the video.
and basically just stumbled on the video, and she was talking about moon cycles, and I was like, oh, she was like telling like emotions come up, and then stuff like that. She was explaining them very practically, very earthly, and I was like, okay, so there's a pattern in my life, and she's talking about patterns. Okay, let's, you know, and I gotta have to say, on that video, I was like, astrological predictions, whatever the name of the video was, I was like, I don't care, but something inside of me is like, click on it, click on it, just watch it, again, that intuition, deeper
Yeah.
place.
You can always throw it out later.
Yep, exactly. And that was my thinking as well. And she was talking about those cycles, and I started really after that started observing the moon cycles, and I noticed, lo and behold, every full moon, every new moon, again we had a fight. You know, the emotions percolated with unresolved issues came to the surface, and we needed to resolve another fight, and so it happened constantly, and that really opened up. I was like, Phew, okay, so astrology really works. Okay, so what else is there? So I went deeper into it. I was like,
Right.
okay, so I watched also the predictions for, the next coming months, and they came true. I was like, okay, so is this becoming true because I'm watching them and I'm thinking
Right.
about them,
Which is the logical next question.
which is the logical next question. I was like, okay, so how do I, easy test. Don't watch for a month and watch it later, after. That's what I did. Didn't watch for a month, went back, watched it, again, made sense. Not obviously not 100% everything came true. It's very hard to get that from a general prediction, but so much made sense, and so many things that I worked on during the month that she
Mhm.
spoke. I was like, what the hell is going on
Like
here?
more than a coincidence.
Oh, so much more. So much more. And after that I was sold. I was sold because my left brain scientific mind was sold on that, and that was it. I just went constant deeper and deeper and deeper. Pretty simple.
How did you like find the courses and stuff that to do? Like what did you go on a lot of stuff or what did you?
I did a lot of stuff. I did my best to learn from, and I still do my best to learn from other people. But you come to a point as an astrologer when we're learning from others is great, and I do that on occasion, and take a course to open my mind. But a big thing about being an astrologer is still it's like you have to do your own observations. You need to do your own work. You need to be the spiritual scientist yourself. You need to observe. You need to write it down. You need to experiment a lot, and you need to get feedback
Mm.
from a lot of people. That's always really good. So yeah, I recommend everybody who's an astrologer and aspiring astrologer to really, not only be reliant on other people's stuff, and only they have the courses, they have the knowledge. No, you have it as well. Start observing, start looking, start making notes, start writing things down. You will see the patterns, and you will
Mm.
discover new things.
Do you think that you've made like in your sessions, and I ask because I'm also experiencing a bit of this, like do you think that you've kind of made a change recently to more relying on channeling in your sessions than necessarily the astrology?
For sure, for sure. It's been a weird place for me because I'm an astrologer. People listening to this maybe will find it weird, but I don't particularly like predictions that much. I think predictions really a little bit miss as well. Yes, we do the predictions, but we do the rapid fire in the cosmic adults, but we do it in a way of let's say the areas we're most likely you're going to be focusing on. That for me is fine, and I like that as well, because if you start to go really specifically into detail with predictions, it will mess up the person's mind. And a
Mm.
lot of people are, I think, in a place where, let's say, I know this happens a lot. A person gets a prediction of, you're heading towards divorce, or you're going to get divorced, or problem, da da da. Difficult one to hear, obviously, but the way I interact with that is a little bit more different. Like, okay, so I see these problems coming up for you in your relationship, but like, what are you guys doing now? Are you connecting? What is the communication between two of you? Like, what is your sex life like? What are you going on date nights? What's the intimacy level? Is there intimacy? Are you talking? these are, for me, are
Mm-hmm.
more important questions. And then we can look at, astrology of like, okay, is there compatibility, or what can we do? What are the main problems? But a lot of things can be resolved by just communicating, and not a lot of people are communicating, which is for me the big thing. And this is one of the reasons I like to go into the present moment right now. What is happening? Maybe it's your personal thing. What is happening in your work? What is happening in
Mm-hmm.
your spiritual life? How can we make the changes right now according, let's say, a little bit to our natal chart? How can we use the energies right now to be prepared to what's coming, and maybe even make the changes right now, that when the challenges happen to you, maybe Saturn or Pluto or whatever comes in, you're you're equipped to handle the energies, and you're ready to handle the energies. That's how I work. That's how I like to operate actually in my practice, I would say. That answer the question?
You're sounding like me.
A little bit of a tangent there.
Is Mercury still in Pisces? Yeah, I think you answered it. I had asked about channeling in sessions more than necessarily relying on the astrology.
But in your case, it's I would say it's a lot about the channeling part
Yes, yes.
entirely,
Yeah.
that thing.
Yep.
How is that trust?
Yeah.
How do you build that trust?
It's so good. Okay, well, I think that a lot for me is that in the sessions when things start, because I always start each session like, a lot of people are expecting like a psychic reading. Like I'm just gonna sit there and be like, blah blah blah, you're gonna marry a handsome prince and ride off into the sunset. Fuck, of course, I could sit there and do that, but that's not what I'm about. I'm about the depth and how can we get to the deepest place in your energy field and free you from that without, without messing with karma or like, divine path sort of things, events. Um, and I think it's when when the information comes through that is true and nails things in a way that there's no possible way I could know without, it being actually real. That's when I gain more confidence, and when other and then as soon as they surrender to the fact that like, yeah, this is actually a real thing,
Mm.
everything starts flowing way better. So like when people come in and they're like wanting me to prove something or like,
Yeah.
well, you're gonna have to prove, it takes like half an hour, 40 minutes for the proof to come through, and then they only get a little bit of like the real thing, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's the best thing. I guess I'll share a story before your question there, or so I was working with a person, and I hope it's okay if you're listening to this that I am sharing this, but I really feel to share it because it was amazing. We're working on their heart area, and all of a sudden this like portal opens and I see this dog come through, and it's like a mastiff or like a big dog with like docked ears and stuff. And I was like, oh wow, there's a dog coming through right now. And she's like, oh, and I was like, oh God, what? And she's like, that's my dog. She just died a week ago.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God. And like she wasn't a mastiff, she was a cane corso, but like that's basically the same thing that I was seeing. And uh, so for her, that solidified, okay, the message is clear. My dog is okay and has crossed over and is making sure I'm okay. And B, the shit's real, because how the fuck would I know that? I'm not stalking their Facebook and like,
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Uh, yeah. I'm actually really happy that we're discussing these topics because A, the more, I just want to say to people out there listening, the more open and trusting you are of, let's say, me or Mercedes, the easier the work is for us. So when you want us to prove anything to you, yeah, it will take a time,
It's just,
etc.,
it's
etc.
sticky. It's sticky. And it's not like we don't feel that energy. It's not like a mystery that you're skeptical. Like,
That's evident even before especially probably for you as well. But before I even meet the person, it's quite. I can feel
oh,
it
it's
actually.
clear. Oh, yeah. The energy starts coming in, messages start happening. Oh, yeah. Constant.
And
But, when you reach this place where all these things are happening, where you have these intuitive feelings, you already know what's going to happen before the person comes in, you know, there's also this level of respect that we have for each person wherever they are. It's not like, oh, this person's going to come and be skeptical. Well, fuck that person. That's never the thought. The thought is
mm,
like, oh, wow, this person's going to be skeptical. How, okay, universe, how, we start asking questions. How can I best help this person, without forfeiting myself?
I think that's one very important question I always ask. Like, oh, how can I? What's the best way, or what can I? How can I channel the best information? What's the best thing to look at for the person to be served in the best shape or form right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
exactly.
you mentioned that, like, the prints and the predicting of the future, because I think this is one of the keys I really want to put forth, and for people to understand is like you're coming in from a vibration or an energetic vibration right now that you're in. The key is not to create your life from that vibration usually, because usually that vibration will create more of those same
Mm-hmm.
problems, that you're most likely the reasons why are even coming to us. But the goal should be to get you to a better place, to a better space, better
Yes.
energy, higher frequency. We can also say that, to release some of that pain, hurt, whatever it is that's holding you back,
Suffering.
suffering that is holding you back. And
Yeah.
then from that space, you can actually, create those things that you're actually desiring and wanting, or create a new, better version of the things. Because what I really see is, one of the things I see is relationships. People have a big issue and big problem with relationships, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's especially important because a lot of people come. I just keeps selecting the same partner, same problems
Yeah.
constantly.
Oh, why? Why do you think that is? Do you think that's like a society thing that no? Oh,
No,
oh, he's shaking his head. He's shaking his head.
100% no. 100% no. I'm
Ah,
very, very confident in this, and I've seen this a lot.
okay.
And everything starts with the first primary relationship example. So yes, sometimes
Oh,
you can
you
take
mean your parents?
parents first.
Right.
Is always parents. This is where you get the imprint. This is where you get the role models. This is where you get the energy actually of the for your future relationships. Now, in some cases, yes, it can take a little bit of other forms of foster parents. Um, what is it called?
Grandparents,
Grandparents. Sometimes bring yourself up. You get
adoptive,
adoptive, and what's the if you have
step
step
parents.
step parents exactly, and you get that step parent relationship, and you take that on as the either if you're a man or a woman, you take that role on, and you start actually creating that in your life. And a lot of it is, especially if there is pain, trauma, um, judgments towards those relationships, those people, you're constantly through those judgments creating the same type of a person, a similar vibrational person to you in order to release that pain, because actually it's pain energy stuck there that is creating that. So once you start understanding that and you start releasing that judgment, releasing and feeling that pain, you don't need to create that same type of person. And what also can happen is when you start to, let's say you're in a relationship and maybe you're stuck in that and you don't know exactly, but it's not the right one, and you start to evolve, let's say, and you come to a therapist or whatever, me, Mercedes, whoever, and you manage to release, let's say, a big portion of that energy. Now what I've also seen happen is the other person who can't raise their level or doesn't let go of those old things, just leave. That relationship ends, and you start creating a new partner, a better, let's say, quote unquote, better partner for you, because you're not anyway stuck in that same loop of pain, judgment. I want that same pain triggered. Now it's like, okay, I've become a more whole person, and I want something else, and you're now ready to ask for that as well. You're ready to receive. I want to say
Totally.
I want to say one thing about receiving, because this is a big freaking thing for people, because of those painful moments that you've experienced and painful role models you had. Very often what I see with people is like the man or the woman comes, and the person can't even receive that person or can accept their love, because they're still in their brain, in their consciousness, in their energy, looking for that pain triggering partner. And when that healthy partner comes, they're kind of not ready, or they're ready and they're like, maybe the vibration isn't a little bit matching. So, and then they have to make that conscious decision of, okay, I'm ready to receive this. I'm ready for this healthier relationship,
Right.
instead
And
of going to that pain and trauma again.
totally. And I think if it's the right partner, they'll be able to see that, and they'll be able to like hold that space and allow you to, lift and make those choices. I think one big thing too that happens in those types of relationships where one person's evolving and the other one's not, or like wants to stay where they are, they will often try to control the person who's evolving. And, like we had talked about in, I think, in our episode about suffering, the suffer-sode.
Suffercast.
Yeah, the um, they'll try to control and bring that person who's going higher back down and keep them where they're at. I see this a lot with people, and I've been in that like for far too long. Yeah.
This is the place where you really need to set boundaries and say to, the other person is like, this is how it's going to be. This is what I want. This is where I need to be. And once you made that decision, this is not a place of compromise. If you see the other person not changing at all, not doing anything, not going to, therapy, not opening themselves up, not doing anything, basically,
or
wanting to stay stuck.
doing it to pacify you, and like just going, but not actually putting in the work. And, because a lot of people will fake it. A lot of people are really fucking good manipulators.
This is a very dangerous place. Unfortunately, this happens a lot. But usually you can still be. You can quite quickly understand if this is happening, because if a person is really committed to change, you can see it in their patterns, in their daily patterns. It's like, subtle changes, small changes. They're, leaving some of their addictions behind. They're, tiny shifts are happening. This is real change. But if those things are constantly still there and they're not getting better, they're going to that, therapist just to keep you there, probably it will come to another energetic crescendo, or a big place of break that will break most likely the thing.
Which is good.
which can be very liberating.
Liberating, freeing. Yeah. Staying in those situations because of whatever reasons of your own design is not recommended by the cosmic adults.
It's not. And I think I want to share a little bit of my own personal
And
story as well.
I have a question for you that I
Okay.
want to ask after your story. Tell your story.
Hmm. So my story was a little bit about this type of with my current fiance. We were, during certain moments we were having really dark places in our relationship, but every time a dark place presented itself, it was like we had to make decisions, and I was many times literally had to go to her and have a very direct conversation, and that conversation was every time it was like this. So we have this problem right now, and it's not okay to have this problem constantly because we're in a loop. We need to change it. We really need to change it because I'm in pain, you're in pain. We can't keep doing the same shit.
Right.
And and each of those decisions, I have them in my mind, or conversations, and both people have to be on board. And I said, like, this is
Mhm.
what needs to happen. Are you on board? Do you want to do this with me? Because this is important, especially for me, but I think for both of us. And every time she really said yes, and I think that's one of the really important hallmarks, maybe, or whatever the word I'm looking for right now, of a relationship that can grow and evolve. Both people need to be on board with what you're doing, and that requires open communication. Otherwise, it can take years of suffering or short period of suffering, but it won't work. So have those conversations. Be clear of what you want. Be clear of what you desire, and understand that maybe there is something wrong, and it's important to talk about it. Otherwise, it won't freaking work.
Yeah, I think you said a lot there.
It's quite a. I think human relationships are so freaking interesting, and I
Hmm.
think right now I'm seeing more and more of the importance of communication between two people, and
Yeah.
and it surprises me a lot that most, and I, unfortunately I know a lot of relationships where people don't talk about these things, like what is going on with me, what is going on with you, where are we going as a couple,
Do
what
I
do I
do I give a shit?
do I give a shit? Like, this is important to
It's
give a
true. You
shit.
have to.
You have to, otherwise fucked up.
Yeah. Well, and as you were talking about it, I was really reflecting on my past relationships, and like I don't think that I've ever been in a relationship where that was the case, obviously, because I'm still, if I had been, I would probably still be in a relationship.
Most
But
likely.
it was like I've never actually had that person to be like, yes, I'm on board with this. It's always been, snaking and squeezing out of corners, and oh, now that the spotlight's on, it's like, oh, I have to own up. And it's like the truth is no, no, I don't care, for that person in particular. But um so that's thank you. Thank you for that.
But
Because it's confirmation though of like the right thing and what the right thing will feel like and be like.
I'm very curious to hear, were you able to even have those conversations of like, okay, so we have a problem, you know? Was that happening, or what was the situation? If you can share maybe a little bit.
In my most recent one, I would say the conversations were constant.
Mm. At least there was
Constant.
happening something.
They were happening constantly. Um, I would say the misstep or the friction would be that I wanted to go this way
Mm.
and that person wanted to go this way, but they were pretending that they wanted to go with me.
Okay.
And they just couldn't get to where I was at. They couldn't look at those deep wounds enough, or it wasn't the right time, wasn't whatever. And that's no one's fault. And it was a lot of pacifying me. Well, maybe if we do this, maybe if we do this, we would do that. Anything around looking at the issue, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, and this is classic, like, I recognize it later, but this is classic, like, um, I'll say toxic relationship stuff where, slowly the draining of my finances, and the essence of who I am slowly becomes smaller and smaller over time. So slowly I don't notice it. And then one day I'm like, who am I? And it's not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the biggest wake up. I was like, I'm not who I am. And I'm not going where I want to go. And it's this that's the problem. And it's been proven to be true since that's ended. I've never been so happy.
Just one more follow-up question, because I'm just this interests me so deeply, and one of my favorite topics. So basically, you were having those conversations. You were kind of like, even you, as I understand, did have an idea of where you wanted to go, where this relationship should have gone. Would you say, what was the issue of the other person not like giving their 100% to go there, or was it the matter of even not having the right tools for a relationship to change, or to
Maybe,
hmm,
maybe. I think to answer that question, there are a lot of factors. I don't think it's just one thing.
no,
I think ultimately energy levels not matching, or they matched at one point and I grew and they didn't. And then once they recognized how much I was growing, there was a lot of jealousy. There was a lot of, why are all these good things coming to you? Like, why aren't they
mm,
coming to me? And
Jesus.
all like nonstop stuff, like every day. Honestly, at that time, near the end there, every day, oh man, I'm actually getting a little emotional here
Mm,
because it was like every day was a constant struggle. Like when I was going to work, like I could only see like three people a day. I had nothing, like nothing in the tank, nothing. I
mm,
had given it all. And now I see six people. And I'm like, okay, time to go home and have dinner and like no problem. So to know, yes. And I think the thing is like I had been so oh, what's the word? Like all in. I had been so all in with diving so deeply into myself to see if I was the cause, like of these problems or whatever.
mhm,
Whenever they would come up, I would look at everything. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm being selfish, or maybe I'm being this, or maybe I'm being that, and sometimes it's the environment. Sometimes that's just what it is.
oh yeah, totally. But I think
And
it's still good if you look at yourself, like,
yeah,
you know,
I
what am I
I, I made
doing?
110,000% sure that it was
Nice,
not me.
nice, nice.
I'll
But
say that.
that's all you, I think that's all you can do, in the end, if things are already that bad. And it's easier to move on in that way as well, if
Yes.
little things have got
Yeah.
to that level and space.
Yeah. It was incredibly and honestly at some points a little bit dangerous for me. I can admit that now. There was danger for sure.
Mm,
Okay, can I ask you my question?
of course.
So I'm so curious because, okay, so obviously you're a father now.
I am.
And one of the things that you had said about like energy flow, which because of the obviously childhood stuff, messages, blah, 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 that I received, it was a lot of me giving to my parents or filling in the gaps of where my parents were lacking in certain ways. And like, obviously, I have like a stepfather, stepmother situation too, where there's a lot of dynamics there. Um, and one thing that you have said is that the energy flow must come from the parent to the child. And you were very, very adamant about that. I'm curious about how that is for you with now having a child and being able to do that and provide that. And then how that is for you guys as a couple, like how your relationship has evolved to accommodate a whole other person. Like what's so I guess it's a two-pronger. Is that
I think this is one of my favorite topics of of
'cause
all.
it in my opinion, like that's a relationship next step, right? Like if I've never really wanted kids, I mean I can say that, but like don't make that face.
I don't
Don't make
believe it.
that face.
I don't believe it. But okay.
I never liked babysitting. Like I love kids. I think they're the coolest. And I actually treat a lot of kids. I think they're really freaking bananas. I love kids. They're so cool. But for me, I'm like, I will not sacrifice anything in my life to accommodate that. Having said that, okay. He's shaking his head. Okay. No, let's take the spotlight off of me and back onto you.
I think we need to do like a session of why that is. But anyway, let's not do that right now.
Let's not
Because
poke the bear.
it's a big one. It's definitely a big one, and I think I've said this to you multiple times. I would urge you to look at it more deeply. There's
Mm.
most likely something there that is causing that belief and judgment towards this.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. I
But
mean, I could say a couple things, but I don't want to.
okay, I think I've triggered that enough that it's like the window is there, an
Yeah,
opening is
yeah.
there. But okay, so you asked me a couple of pretty big ones, important
The energy
ones.
flow, parent to child, and then how has your relationship evolved?
So the energy flow from parent to child, this is a big one, and it has to happen. And I see this a lot with the people I'm working with constantly. The energy flow was the opposite way, and one of the reasons why the energy flow is the opposite way is the parent or the parents. Unfortunately, sometimes in multiple, they don't have, first and foremost, they don't have enough inside of themselves, not enough love inside of themselves, not enough energy, not enough emotional capacity inside of themselves. So very often that means they start to take energy from the
Mm.
child,
From the biggest energy source
from the
around them.
biggest energy source of all. We can
Oh
say,
yeah, kids are so cool. Like you look at them and they're like, "Ah," like just beaming.
and that can't happen because
Yeah.
they can't accommodate that actually. But when a sensitive, intuitive child feels that, they will actually start to accommodate them subconsciously. So what it can look like, sometimes a parent is having an emotional breakdown, they're having a hard time, whatever it is, they're having a hard time in life and they can't manage it really properly. So
Hmm.
what that intuitive, sensitive child is subconsciously feels that, and they start to accommodate. Now they start to give that energy away as well. Again, not willingly, not kind of like they want to help, they don't know exactly how, and they're kind of like doing the job that they're not supposed to do. That changes the entire game. That changes the entire flow, and that, unfortunately, changes the energetic flow of the family, which brings a lot of problems. Let's say, for example, a lot of anger in mature adulthood starts to come up. You're kind of like angry, don't know even why you're angry.
I would change that perhaps to more resentment.
Resentment as well.
I
Resentment,
think there is
anger, even
anger for
disappointment.
sure, and especially anger in action. And but the underlying, I want to say, is like a resentment undercurrent.
I've seen it shift and change.
Mm,
A lot of people I've seen anger, they're already in anger. Sometimes people are in disappointment. Sometimes they're in
yes,
grief and they don't even know that they're in grief
right.
about that because they're kind of like lost their childhood and
Totally.
they don't know that they're grieving their childhood actually. So I
Yeah.
think this is a big
Yeah.
one
And with step parents grieving the relationship with the original parent.
that can happen as well. And because that's a painful, moment when that split happens. Again, if you're a child and nobody teaches you to process that and helps you process it because they're, too
Hmm.
busy playing games or using
Hmm.
you in those games.
Right. Because if this is happening, the parent it's unlikely that the parent will be recognizing that it's them.
Very unlikely. Very, 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 very extremely unlikely. So yeah, that needs to change. And when you start to understand, and maybe you guys listening are noticing some of the things we're discussing right now, and you're noticing them within yourself, that needs to change, and you can change that flow. And how you can change that flow? That needs a lot of self-love. And when I say self-love, most people get
Hmm.
triggered by it, like Mercedes shared, I think last time, or one of the previous episodes. I think it's a really good story, by the way. Go listen to that, guys. And self-love only means, in the core essence of self-love, is attention to yourself. And I don't mean it in a narcissistic way, but I mean presence and attention to yourself.
Hmm.
That can take many, 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 many forms. But when you have presence and groundedness for yourself, the energy flow and the capability, emotional depth, emotional maturity, when you have that for yourself, you can handle those situations in life that happen yourself, and the energy flow comes from the universe or the source, you can say, or your higher self, whatever you want to call it, but the energy is freaking there and it's flowing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now if you have that, you're capable of giving that to your child, which is the right energy flow. The child isn't supposed to take care of the parent. You're
Shocker.
supposed you're supposed to take care and provide and be the guiding light, the beaming support system for the child growing
Hmm.
up, because that's where they're getting their energy as well. Yes, they're getting it from the source, but they're needing. It's not only about energy. It's sometimes about practical life
Hmm.
skills, processing
Hmm.
emotions, feelings. This is everything you need to teach them, and this is the energy
Because
flow.
ultimately, the child, like from a soul perspective, yes, the child did ask to be born.
Hmm.
And the child didn't ask to be born. You're the one that did that whole process. Like, come on. There's got to
Extremely
be.
important to understand. You are freaking making that decision of taking the P or taking the V. You are making that decision, literally. You can spiritualize. I know, you can spiritualize it how they chose, and we wanted to come,
Mhm.
but like a very practical point of view, you are taking the P and putting it in the V. You are taking the V and you're allowing the P to put in the V. You are the grown-ups who are making that decision. If you're not
Yes.
ready for that, don't do it. Problem
Mhm.
freaking solved, you know?
Yeah.
Or put a rubber on it, it's not, it's very simple. It's taught in like the sixth grade in Estonia, I think, maybe the fourth, fifth grade. You know the steps. Take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I'm really hard on people with this
Yeah,
because
you're fired up about this. I
because
can
it
tell.
because it's such a big thing, simple thing, important thing,
Mm-hmm.
but people don't get it. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this child appeared from nowhere. No,
Yeah.
you
No,
made the
not really.
decision.
Um, and then it's like, it's not like getting a cat
No,
or a dog. This is a commitment for life. You know, even let's just say in a sad event that child passes away in its youth, you know,
hmm,
that's still a part of your life for the rest of your life.
exactly. And I just wish, you know, people. I really wish people would assess this in that way before they made that decision. That's what
Yep.
I really wish for humans to understand, to take more
Well,
responsibility.
and I think that's why, you know, we talk about relationships so much because that's what comes from relationships. So if you're not adjusting and being in the right relationship with the right partner, it's unlikely that a child coming out of that. I mean, I think I've done all right, but for myself, but you know, you're not really setting up that child for being, you know, and one of the things that just drives me fucking up the wall is people being like, yeah, I want to have a child because I want to have a mini me.
That's the craziest thing ever.
Are you
Really.
insane? Like,
Please don't do that, guys. If
you
anybody like
should
that is
want your
listening to this,
child to surpass you. I think, you know, what are you contributing to the world in that you want another one of you? Like, not to shame anybody, but like to look at that.
but it's like if you know you're taking if you're wanting that, you're taking away the liberty from that child as
Yeah,
well. That this
yeah,
person is
yeah,
here to have their own experience
yeah,
and live their own life. At best, you're there to guide them certain points of their life, and they have to. Basically, this is how I say it. You have to empower your children to make those decisions and be able to process their emotions, process their ideas, to think critically. You have to empower them so that they are capable themselves to grow up as adults who can make those decisions and be independent as well,
mm.
not be like you. This is crazy. This is fucking crazy. Why do you need
Honestly, like,
why do you need first and
why?
foremost, why do you need that?
It's like
Why
Dr.
do you
Evil from Austin Powers, and I think that that actually is a nod to that whole thing. Like
hmm
Mike Myers is a really intelligent guy, and he made those movies, and the mini me, it's like, yeah, it's insane.
no.
Anyways, next question was okay, and then so then you with this knowledge now having a child, what's that like? Tell me about it. Tell us,
So
tell the class.
so the whole process of that was basically me first and foremost. I think it was a long time that I kind of prepared my fiance for that as well because I was doing my best to make that understanding for her very clear of how the energy should flow, how the energies should be, what our role. Obviously, she is a very intelligent person and understands a lot of these things.
Yes.
But I
She's
think
the bomb, by the way. She's like one of my favorite people. Every time we get to connect, I'm like, yay.
she is amazing. But like, let's say from that energetic perspective, from that perspective, I think I was, you know, that was my jam. You know, had gone so deeply into it, and I wanted really to for her to understand it because that's not a very, you know, mainstream understanding of how the energies of flow. And so we had many talks and conversations of that and how the energy should flow and how we bring this child into this world and how it is about, you know, supporting him, not making him a mini me, and just doing our best to be there for him, having him explore this weird mystery of life, but kind of like being there, and but allowing him to have his own experience. And I think once we got that down, I mean, that things have kind of, with him, they've evolved on their own, and the right things have always come, and so on and so forth. But like from personal perspective, between the two of us, like that relationship has needed to change a lot. Another person is between us. It's demanding so much of our attention and energy. You need good practices to have between the two of you. And for us, I'll share this with you because I think it's a really good one to have. If you have a child, if you don't have a child, if you're in a committed relationship. So we have what we have, and I suggested this, and she was immediately on board, and I really appreciate her for being so open to it as well. So what we have is one day a week we have set for the two of us, where anything goes. Like, what do you want to do? Who are you? What is going on with you? The favorite question I always ask her is like, if you can have anything in the world, what would it be right now? I almost, not every week, but I ask it like once a month, usually, from her. And
So hang on, sorry. Is this so once a week you have a conversation?
Let's say it's a conversation, but it's like it's the time that is set. I don't know, it's so blurry. It's a
Oh yeah.
time.
Back. I think it's because you had your water.
Mm. It's basically a set time for us where we connect, communicate,
Mm,
talk
right.
shit, open up, you know,
Yeah.
go deep. Sometimes it turns into a therapy session. Sometimes it's like, what do you want in life? Where are we going? But it's important to have that time for the two of you, because it's like, if you
Hmm.
have a kid, if you're having a business, if you're doing work out in the world, you get into this comfortable routine where you're kind of like there, you're kind of like existing, but you don't even know about the person anymore. You're not having these conversations. So for us, it kind of like went into that, because that this child came, we're tired, we're businesses, everything, there's so much. So
Yeah.
we had to do that, to have that, really, to grow as humans and to grow as a couple as well,
Yeah.
to understand and build more intimacy between the two of us. And I just can't recommend this enough. If a person isn't, I think, available for this, or doesn't want to do this, for me personally, I'm not sure that's a right relationship. Like, I would be asking
Hmm.
that question quite.
And maybe, I mean, maybe if it's like if you want to be in it and suffer for yourself, then that's fine. But like maybe think twice about bringing a child in.
I wouldn't do that personally, but yeah, it's your decision in the end.
Hmm.
So the
Wow.
relationship needs to change.
Yeah. Well, and I would say grow too. And I mean, I would say like just in watching you guys evolve as well, like I would say, may I? May
Of
I?
course.
I would say between the two of you, it appears that the trust has grown so much too, in the reliance on each other, just in the little simple things that I've seen. I'm like, oh yeah, like that looks like it's really evolved, and it looks like, these types of things are going on. The good
Definitely.
things.
Definitely. It's because, it's about showing up as well, because
Mm,
it's about, doing the very simple things of changing the diapers, of, oh, there's a crying, oh,
mm,
there's something
mm,
happening. You need to show up constantly, as a dad, as a mom. Both need to show up. And if
yeah.
both are doing it, and both have an agreement to do that, I think that builds tremendous trust, and enormous amounts of trust that is needed to raise a child. So glad you're seeing that. I'm
Hmm.
appreciative of that, definitely.
Yeah, and I wanted to just say one more thing as well. Just in bringing in that masculine energy and potentially even astrology aspect of it, where
Go ahead.
um, okay, so energy flow, I just want to revisit that. So
Hmm.
that's almost for you, it's like as the man of the household, you are the main energy source because you're flowing to support her as well as flowing to support your child. Now you're both flowing to support your child, so that's hopefully a little easier, but I think you're also bringing in, that the masculine part of the relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that's not always the easiest thing to do. It's a lot
Yeah.
of challenge, a lot of time, a lot of effort gets
And
put into that.
I guess my point that I want to make is that if you really want to be a balanced man or masculine portion of the relationship, you have a big responsibility. And I think that this is why a lot of women are like pretty done with the men that are around right now because the men are not stepping up into these roles and showing up as that source of light for the person, that source of goodness. It's all about like, well, what can I get from you? Like, what?
It requires a lot of filling up yourself as a man. Of course, you have friends and you have mentors and you have these places, but for me, one of the biggest places I use is still my meditation practices, and still some days I am a little bit more empty, and I have to rely on her and as my fiance as well, and ask
Mm-hmm.
for help, like say, hey, can you help a little bit more of this, this and that.
Totally. Which is not wrong in any way, shape, or form. It's just
You
that
both
that's,
you both have to
yeah.
balance it, because she is the same way. She relies on, asks for time over here and there, and I do my best to offer, and it does take away from, let's say, what I would call your selfish pursuits of pleasure, and maybe your enjoyment a little bit here and there. It does.
Hmm.
You just, time. You time is taken away.
Yeah.
Energy
You're
is
sacrificing time. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is the most valuable currency, which means it can be super frustrating to be sacrificing it. It's when you don't get back. Money comes back, all the other things come back, but time, not so much.
You get it back in other ways, definitely in that
Yeah.
way.
I'm looking for solid returns on my investments right now.
Take your time.
Yeah,
Just be
absolutely.
open to
I'm
it.
like just fucking, I'm just doing me.
Do you?
So, do you feel like we've answered everyone's questions for the week?
I hope
What's
so.
the astrology looking like for the week, actually? So we're looking at the May 15th to 21st. Now,
So
are we moving into Gemini? Have we done that?
so basically, one of the biggest thing that is happening for us is like the eclipse. We talked about the eclipse last time. The eclipse is
Ah,
we're starting the week with a bang. Eclipse, full moon
right, the
solar eclipse
16th.
in the sign of Scorpio. So, that is already a pretty intense emotional time, very intense emotional time. Wanting to hold on, having to let go. I think the potential is here to release, on a personal level, to release a lot of things. I would say in the coming 6 months, especially. But the desire to hold on to this pattern is quite difficult as well, or severe. Now, Gemini season, like you said, comes. What are we doing? 21st.
15th to the 21st.
So that happens. Yeah, Gemini season starts on the 21st. Yeah. So
Nice.
we're basically doing
You
Gemini
have no
right.
idea how cool this is, Ian. I am so excited to get to the 21st because I'm looking at it. I'm like, holy shit.
Yes.
Okay. So the eclipse in Scorpio, we kind of touched on it last episode. Do you have like, and we did, you did a rapid fire for each,
I did a rapid fire for Jupiter in Aries.
for Jupiter and Aries, right? Do you have it in you to do a rapid fire of the eclipse?
Okay, let's do a rapid fire because let's do
I
full
Or no,
lunar.
I get a lot of the out of the rapid fire because then I can go back and be like, okay, what was the main thing?
So lunar eclipses, guys, are full moons. It's still about results in life. So it brings results in the following sections that I'm going to do. This time I'm going to go start with Aries again, so it's a little bit simple or easier for me. So Aries, ascendant, sun, or moon. These you are going to get results in the we can let's keep it at 3 months, but 6 months is also a possibility here, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
In the following areas of other people's resources, your partner's resources, loans, bank loans, taxes, things of that nature. On a deeper note, you most likely are going to be releasing some intense emotional woundings from your psyche's consciousness as well. So it is a bit of a intense place to have that lunar eclipse for the Aries as well, definitely. For the Tauruses, you're going to have it in your seventh house, which means relationships, partnerships, marriage. Some partnerships are going to have to be taken to another level. Some have ended. Some are going to be giving results. Some deals, contract negotiations definitely happening. You're going to be, let's say, if you're a business person, definitely going to be driving those home. Marriage even, I would say, is possible here for the Tauruses as well. For Geminis, it's happening in the sixth house. Sixth house is a lot to do with work, with health, with routines. So, what can happen? A work project can complete, might need to even let go because this is a weird one. It's like results and letting go as well at the same time. Intensity there. Results from your routines, health routines. Going to see some of that. Maybe need to let go of some that are not working. For cancers, it's happening in the fifth house. So a lot to do with children and romantic partners. So maybe you're taking that romantic relationship to another level. Sexual things happening there, or maybe you're done with that. Basically, some sort of event in the life of your romantic partner, or even personal business and kind of like creative projects that you might have on the side, or in the life of your children. For Leos, it's happening in the fourth house, so a lot of emotional stuff. For Leos, it's an interesting one because it's fourth house. It's a lot about emotional life as well, but it's also about practical things like the family and the home environment. So you can, some of you can move, some can do some renovations at home, some can even sell their real estate, but a lot of those deeper things are going to come to the surface as well, to first be released, and then more emotional happiness can come from that. Some painful wounds from childhood, for example, can really come to the surface, especially with the Scorpio full moon. For the Virgos, it's in the third house, which means a lot of short trips, results from business, results from marketing, results from sales, results from letting go of even like thought patterns and things you think about, how you communicate, siblings, dealings with siblings and relatives as well. For Libras, it's happening in the second house of finances and material resources and investment. So for it's an interesting one for Libras, I guess. It's you can get some resources coming your way, financial resources coming your way, But it's like the south node is still there, um, Saturn as well. So there can be some limitations during this lunar eclipse, or you might need to let go of some sort of income, and then later on the new income can come, or it can literally just come after the lunar eclipse as well, which means basically that you will receive some sort of income or results from your investments. For Scorpios, it's happening in your first house, so you are being eclipsed. Obviously, the closer your ascendant or sun or moon is to the degree of, I hope I'm having remembered 26 degrees. It was happening 25 degrees. 25. I can pull it up actually as well. But anyway, for Scorpios, it's a lot to do with your life in general. Where are you headed? Where are you going? It's like general life events, big events can happen now. I'll give you the degrees as well, because for Scorpios, that's quite a big, even a relocation is on the, or moving is definitely, because it's you who's being
Thank
eclipsed.
God.
And the
Kidding.
degrees are 25 degrees. So anything close, if you have ascendant sun or moon, anything close to 25 degrees of Scorpio, you're going to feel this especially strongly. Many changes in your life, many results in your life as well. So be prepared.
I had to look up my degrees because of this, and I was like,
How? I can't remember exactly. Do you want to share? No.
6.
So it's not that bad, I would say.
No. Yeah. I'll survive.
So where are we at? We're at Sagittarius.
Scorpio. Yeah, Sag.
So Sag is in the 12th house. So for Sag, whenever something like that intense is happening in the 12th house, it's a lot about spiritual experiences, intense dreams, direct connection to the other realms, but also important to understand that it's about releasing subconscious patterns here. And we can talk about sexual pleasures and traveling to foreign lands, also a possibility for you guys, but releasing those subconscious patterns is also at the forefront. For Capricorns, it's in the 11th house. So again, a lot to do with gains, material gains, financial gains, bonuses, getting results from those areas. And also with friends, events happening with friends, social circles, social groups and networks as well. For the Aquarius, it's happening in your 10th house. So a lot to do with career, social status, and career projects, people you work with, bosses, results in those areas. You might be finishing a bigger project now in the next coming 6 months. Obviously, it's not going to be the easiest thing to finish, unfortunately, with these aspects, but you will have some support as well. What is it? Pisces, the last one. Pisces, you're going to have it in the 9th house. So, belief systems, relationship with the father figure, mentor figure, teacher figures in your life. Even if you're finishing some certification, schooling thing, diploma you might be receiving in the next 6 months. We can say also, it's a little bit of a, I will let go of some belief systems, and my new belief systems are going to come in as well, transforming some of those. And it's a very, very spiritual house as well, so be prepared for that connection to be quite strong. And receiving messages, definitely. We can say that maybe the for the Pisces, unfortunately, maybe the outlook on future can be a little bit bleaker, maybe a little bit darker here,
as opposed to normal when it's so bright and fluffy.
we can say. But it's more why is it, because the Scorpio is in their ninth house, so it's a little bit of a love and hate
When we're
type thing.
when you're doing the rapid fire, is it sun, moon, rising, sun, moon, and rising, or are
I,
you more
I
looking
would
at the sun?
I would especially look at ascendant more than sun and moon.
Okay. So, and you need your birth time to know what your ascendant is, right? You can
This is
rectify that
correct.
in a chart, but also it's better to have your exact birth time. Yeah. Okay, so we are starting off with a bang,
It's a pretty
indeed.
intense week.
My the guidance for the 15th, which is the first day we're looking at, the Sunday, so that's the day this is coming out, is statue. And I just feel like a little bit of frozen in time feeling where it's like maybe you can't make a move forward or backward. You feel like you're sort of stuck or still.
I think it's very fitting. I think it's literally super fitting for this energy that we have. Because the full moon lunar eclipse, because it has other aspects as well. It's like a
Mm,
very push and pull energy. It's like wanting to
yeah.
hold on but having to let go, wanting to hold on but having to let go. It's intense.
Well, like, and then the next thing that comes to my mind is like fight, flight, and freeze. Those are like the responses, like the parasympathetic nervous system responses. Um, and they're saying another one is fawn as well, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Um, but yeah, the freeze. I think and I mean a lot of the stuff too. I mean, we're also going to be in Mercury retrograde as well. There's a lot of like, just stop to reevaluate everything. Just like it's okay to press pause. It's okay to just here's it always like throws me off when you go blurry. I'm like, what? Yeah, it's just pressing pause, to just take that moment. But yeah, and then moving into the 16th, what came through is futile. And I thought that was interesting, but I think a lot like what feels like wants to come through is like pay attention to what you're fighting about. Pay attention to where your energy is going and like where you're putting it. Is it in something that's really stupid, like in the grand scheme of things, or is it really in an investment for your future? You look like you want to say something.
I just wanted to add the word resistance is futile.
Ah, resistance is futile. I'm going to actually add that in. Resistance. Is that from a movie? I feel like
Probably.
that's like a Bond villain or resistance is futile. I feel like that. I mean,
Probably
it's
many
been
movies.
said, but yeah,
But I think it's also fitting with the energies of this lunar eclipse.
I think so too. And then Tuesday is signature, which I was sort of thinking was interesting. And I almost like pair it with like legacy as well. Like, who are you? What impact are you making on the world? How do people know you?
Very interesting.
Mhm. And then moving into Wednesday, which shameless plug for Joe and Cindy, meditations on Wednesday. Go check it
Go
out.
check on Fog Streamer.
Go check it out. Okay, and then Wednesday the 18th is second guess. So the energy of the week that I'm really getting is like, fucking look at yourself.
Yeah.
Fucking look at it. Like, stop just pushing forward and without a second glance back. Like, maybe you're fucking wrong.
I think I really like what you said because it's almost like you can't escape this energy, and you need to look those deeper painful things that are inside. You can't run away. Resistance is futile. And I also ask you, like Mercedes says, second guess your ideas about these things,
Yeah.
because they can
And
be in fear as well.
totally. And your intuitive voice is not the fearful voice. But second guess, and I think it's also just a bit of a warning / guidance here to there's a way to second guess, there's a way to revisit things without putting yourself down and invalidating yourself and your feelings and your own intuition. So just make sure that, you know, the decisions that you're making are really coming from, you know, your highest place, your a good place. Revisit it, look at it multiple times. And also, what am I trying to say here? It's not really like clear in my mind. It's like I'm like looking at you, I'm like, come on, fill it in, fill in the No, but it's like when you second insecurity, like make sure it's not your insecurity that's speaking as well.
That's also very important. I think
Yeah,
that will come up a lot this week.
The insecurity thing. Okay.
Fear and insecurity.
Okay. And then Thursday, gains. So something about Thursday. Get ready to receive.
Ready to receive mode.
And then Friday, the 20th, fairy dust. Luckily, we're getting some magic, thank God. And then I think this is also a nod to belief as well. Because, you know, Tinkerbell only exists if you believe in her. Fairy stuff, that kind of thing. What are your beliefs? You know, I think there's been a theme even in the week we're in right now, because we're recording this obviously in the past. Looking at belief systems is a thing that's coming up right now, currently. And this, you know, so just really pay attention, really start. The thing that's been coming up is like healing all those scars in your mind, all those neural pathways that you travel so often, so readily, that are like the voice of non-reason. Pay attention to that. Really, really, really make sure. And like, honestly, I think that there's a lot in our podcast and in our talks, our conversations, everything that is preparing everyone for the future. We're not sitting here doing this for nothing. If we were, you know, that we would be, we just wouldn't, like, it's just not a thing. It's like just not for kicks. Like, it's for the future to help people, because it's the future. Yeah. If you know, you know, basically. And then, okay, so, and moving into Gemini, this was what I was so excited for. The 21st, the word that came through was inquisitive. And I was like, when you said we're moving to Gemini on the 21st, I was like, oh my God, if there was ever a word for Gemini.
That's a smack into the faces of Gemini word. Geminis are inquisitive, and I have a lot of Gemini energy myself in my chart, so I'm very inquisitive.
What's the archetype for Gemini as we head into Gemini season?
Good question, man.
Twins? Because it's the twins, but what's the...
Really good question. I haven't even thought about this.
I love the archetypes. I think that they're so cool. Here, I'm just going to Google it.
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about Gemini archetype.
Uh,
Warrior, magician, lover. I don't know. I don't have a good one right now that fits it really well.
Okay, I can't find just specific Gemini. Oh, here. Okay, the archetypes of the signs. How about we'll just go through warrior. Oh, I don't like these ones. No.
Yeah, guys, remember if you search something on the internet, it's somebody's quite often very
Yeah,
personal
it's
opinion.
not always correct. Um,
It's like almost
no,
like the
I don't like these either.
researcher or some sort of
Is it the teacher?
it's a certain type of teacher.
Okay, well, the ones that are here, we'll just go. It's like, so Aries, warrior, Taurus, caregiver. It's after Taurus.
Taurus is caregiver.
Yeah, this one's not right. Hang on, we'll go back.
It's a Cancer.
I feel like this is important. I feel like it's important. Oh, here, this might be better. No. Is it
It's
storyteller?
communicator. I would say. Actually, my favorite one is communicator.
Okay.
You can say storyteller, but I would say
There's
communicator.
also, I'm seeing the jester as well.
I
Like,
thought about Jester, but I think it would be very much doing it injustice, the Gemini.
yeah, a disservice.
It's similar like saying Scorpio is like a manipulator, you know, or Aries is a crybaby, or you know,
Aries is a
yeah.
crybaby. I thought Cancer was a crybaby.
Cancer is a crybaby who holds it together longer.
Warrior, creator, explorer, lover, sage, ruler, fool, orphan. Yeah, I get the Gemini is getting a lot of like fool, jester, that kind of stuff. That's sad. So
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, when you're looking stuff up on the internet, just like Ian said, make sure you get the right shit. You got this. You got this. We're here. We're here. Well, we did a lot of talking, that's for sure. Classic Gemini. No, I'm just kidding. Not really, though.
It is classic Gemini.
Yeah, we hope that you made it here to the end, and thank you for listening. As always, we are grateful AF. If you want all the information throughout the week, we are doing all the posting, we're doing all the stuff. So if you forget, if you listen to the podcast and you forget, you can always consult the Instagram. You'll know. The Cosmic Adults on all social media platforms. If you're looking for us, you'll find us. We hope we are providing good things for your life and good guidance and good pondering and thoughts. And especially heading into Gemini, there's going to be a lot of thinking, a lot of
Exchanging of information.
ooh. Nice. 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 Okay.
Yeah, appreciate you guys, and see you again soon in the next episode.
Whoop, whoop.